Welcome to the Hokie Hoops podcast, brought to you by State Farm. Whether it's auto, home, renters, or life insurance, whatever you need, the Andrews have you covered. That's Andrew Blevins and Andrew Evans at our local State Farm branch. Email insurance@sonsofsaturday.com to get connected today. Welcome to the Hokie Hoops podcast one more time. I'm Pete B. I've got Ed Williams here. I've got Mike McDaniel. Hokies improved last night, guys. 16-6, 5-4 in ACC play. How many wins away are we, Ed, from being tournament bound?
4, I would say.
4-ish? Yeah.
I think we were all texting about this. The bubble's really interesting this year, where it's not the strongest bubble, at least at the moment. And, that can obviously change, game by game, week by week. But 19 wins, you're probably really, really bubbly. 20, I think you're in and on the right side of it. 21, I think you might even be a 9 seed. So I think if they can get to the 20 win mark and be 9-9 in the league, I feel pretty good about it. But as we'll dive into, there's a lot of tough games left to get there. Yeah,
we beat Syracuse last week. Then we laid a stinker against Louisville, and we took care of business last night against Georgia Tech. And that's where we should start, because it just happened. We won 71-65. GT actually started the game on a 9-0 run. We quickly got on our feet, 10-10. By the time, some of the feeds, because the other game in front of us went to overtime, so I was trying to flip over to the app so I could find the game. By the time I tuned in, it was 10-10. Traded some runs, and then Hammond had 5 quick before the half, and we took a 6-point lead into the half. The second half, we really got going. Bedford was better. We had the Toby block, the Toby dunk. A lot of fun stuff happened. And we got the lead. I want to say it was 13, and then it was 15. And it stayed at double digits, Mike, until, I don't know, about the 4-minute mark. And then we saw what we've seen so many times.
Yeah, it's been a trend. Forgetting how to inbound the ball, not really defending, I would say. Taking possessions off, being afraid to foul. This is less so inside the last 4 minutes, more inside the last 2 minutes. Being afraid to foul has been a thing. It's not even showing any sign of getting between the opposing player and the basket, just letting guys go in for layups because you're afraid to foul. That's been a trend that, on one hand, I understand, especially if you're clinging to a 4 or 5 point lead. You don't want to have a 3-point play. It's as bad as giving up a 3. But there's got to be a way to do this, to close games out better. The last 4 to 5 minutes of games lately, I mean, this is a trend really. The last 6 or 7 conference games, it's just felt like a grind to close games out. There are
pretty much all the games.
It's been horrible. It's been bad.
It's more exaggerated that in the games where we've had sizable leads, right? Because the UVA game went to overtime a couple different times, but we weren't losing a giant lead. The Stanford game, this game, Syracuse, they're kind of all cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. I think you guys mentioned over text in our group chat today, but the one game that hasn't been that way was the game you guys were at. The Notre Dame game at Cassell was not that way. So yeah, I mean, that's been the one lately that sticks out, right? In a victory that hasn't really been as tight down the stretch. But yeah, there's got to be a better way to close out games. This has been kind of painful to watch from home, for sure.
I thought the referees we were up again, double digits, and then they had 7 free throws in a row that got the game closer. And I think the refs had a bad night. I don't really like harping on the refs, but judging by Ed's face, he agrees with me.
That was as bad as I can ever remember. I mean, that was horrible. And I think Virginia Tech actually, was in a decent position to close out that game in terms of, who we had on the floor and, the things that we were, going to try to do in order to close out that game. And then in the blink of an eye, Toby Lawal picks up 3 fouls, 2 of which were not even close. The last one was a joke. And all of a sudden, Toby Lawal's out of the game. And You're like, okay, we have now scratch whatever plan we had on how to close out a basketball game. What's the new plan? And I think you saw that it was just choppy, and it allowed for Georgia Tech to put points on the board, but the clock stopped, and it was awful officiating.
Well, they would call
that ref
foul.
Apparently has a pretty negative reputation. So it's not surprising, but man, like that, I really do think that Georgia Tech was kept in the game by some officiating late.
He's got a low review on ratemyrefs.com or whatever it is. It's not a good one for that gentleman. But what was happening is they're getting the calls, and then we'd run down, shoot a 3, miss. They'd get a call, then we'd run down, shoot another 3, miss. It would be nice if we had like a go-to post up, or give it to Embiid at the corner of the foul line, and he just turns around and makes a basket. Give it to Hansberry down low, get a basket. And that's something we just don't really have. Like, just, all right, who's our clutch guy? And we talked about this in the last episode. It's starting to become Ben Hammond. And again, he made 2 clutch free throws at the end of this game to kind of seal it when it got a little bit dicey there. I think he is the guy, but it's not the same as having a big man that you can just throw the ball into. There's no guaranteed bucket for us on the offensive end when things are getting tight like this.
Yeah, we've had back-to-back clunkers from the 2 bigs. Lawal and Hansberry have been basically no-shows the last 2, other than a couple of highlight plays from Toby, and Coach Young was on Amani in the post-game radio and press conference, talking about having to manage Amani's foul trouble. So I'm sure that's something being harped on right now in Han Hurst, and Hansberry's too good to have to take off the floor, and we don't have a good solution for having to take him off the floor. So him not being able to play really disrupted, I think, the flow of the offense, particularly in the first half. And then as a result, also it disrupts the team flow, but it also doesn't help Amani get into the game, right? And he could be that guy that you could attack the interior of a defense with late in the game, draw fouls, close out the game, rather than take those threes that you're talking about. And I was thinking back to the other close games that we've won and lost, and it's just amazing how many times we've had guys just standing alone, and we cannot make a jump shot under 2 minutes left in a basketball game. Any number of these times, whether it's SMU or Stanford or last night where, we obviously won, but it got closer than it needed to be. You just make one jump shot in the under 2 minute stretch and the game's over and it's a non-issue. And we just all of a sudden forget how to shoot a basketball. I mean, Jalen Bedford was standing like butt naked in the corner, nobody within 5 feet of him, and he airballed it. And it's just like, guys, make one shot and this thing's over and we don't have to worry about any of this. It's been pretty remarkable. Last night too, like if you go back and look at the play-by-play, just like, the outline they do on ESPN, we had 1 turnover under 2 minutes. It felt like we had 19, but we had 1. So it's just hard to explain. And I'm sure you guys will talk more about the defense, because I think that's the bigger problem in these closing out of games is the defense than it is the offense. But man, they are just making this really hard.
Well, that's what was going on a little last night and in the Syracuse game. Just wide open lanes to the hoop, Mike. Like layup, easy layup.
Stanford
too. Yeah. I mean, if we want to do all of them, this is the ongoing problem. Like, I don't understand it. We have improved defense under Chester Frazier since he came over this year. The defense as a whole, their total rating is better. It's better than the offense a lot of games. But in the final 4 minutes, 2 minutes, I don't know what's happening. Why isn't anyone challenging anyone? I don't know if there's like, are they directing them just to avoid fouls at all costs? Like, I don't know what it is.
I think the issue too, right, is like when Amani and Toby can't get going like consistently, it then puts a spotlight on like Bedford has to make a jump shot. Jaden Shoot has to make a jump shot. Jaden Shoot hasn't made a shot, it feels like, in 5 games. He's 4 for his last 18 shooting over the last 4 games.
0 of 5 last night.
Didn't make a shot last night. Didn't make a shot against Notre Dame, I don't think either. Might have made one. Yeah, I mean it's been rough.
He was 3 of 5 against Louisville.
Right. So I mean that's the best game he's had, right? In a while.
Syracuse was 1 of 5.
1 of 5 against Syracuse.
1 of 5. Yeah. So I mean that Notre Dame game is like kind of propping him up over the last 4 games, even, which is tough. He's going through a tough shooting stretch. I mean, Jaden Shoot's like the least of my concerns. He'll start shooting again. He'll be fine. But the point is, right, when you can't get Amani and Toby going offensively, it then puts more of an emphasis on those guys. Thankfully, Ben Hammond's been outstanding lately. So that's really kind of pulled this team out of the muck offensively. But to the defensive point, like, yeah, it felt like things were too easy for Georgia Tech last night, particularly in the first half. Like, Georgia Tech had a couple different runs, right? They had the run right there to start the game. Then Hokies go on a run, right? And even things up at 10, Pete, like you mentioned. But then Georgia Tech went on another run, right? It was a game of runs in the first half. I mean,
yeah, they did.
many college basketball games are, but particularly in the first half last night, it just felt like each team just went on subsequent runs, basically that entire first half. And it was a lot of breakdowns defensively that you don't really expect out of this team, because like you guys have mentioned, this has been a much better defensive team this year. And last night, for a Georgia Tech offense that's not fantastic, right? Like not great, they were shooting the lights out in the first half. They're getting warm-up jumpers, which is really painful to watch.
We saw that against Syracuse too, that they were shooting like way above their skis, way ahead of their skis. Like it didn't make any sense. And
bad 3-point shooting team at Syracuse. They were shooting the lights out in the first half.
And look at how we shot. Look at our key players: Hansberry, Lawal, Shoot, and Neo. Those combined 4 guys, 6 of 32 from the field last night. That's 19%. If you like to do math, that's horrendous from 4 of our best players, and definitely our best shooter in there going 0-5 does not help. But Ed said it about Lawal and Hansberry. It's been a couple duds as of late. I know Lawal had the highlight plays, like the dunk was incredible. We should mention the dunk, maybe one of his best ever, and then the block that he launched into the stands was all well and good. But there's more there that we're not getting out of him. And then I just think getting TJ back will help with Hansberry so much. It's just more fouls to give. He won't have to deal with defending certain guys that TJ can defend. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate, but we escaped with a win. I think that's something you pointed out, Ed, is like we shot like crap and we still won the game. And we kind of dominated the game and then let them back in.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys just mentioned, Neo and Jaden Shoot combined for 3 of 20 from the field, and we won the basketball game. I thought Virginia Tech played a pretty good game, all things considered. And then, besides the late game stuff, shot it okay from the free throw line. That was obviously really important, particularly late. But it was, again, man, it's just Ben Hammond pulling us out of the fire. The year 1 to year 2 step from Hammond has been, pretty well documented. I think most of the fan base now, even like the people who don't pay a whole lot of attention, are paying attention to what he's doing. I think Virginia Tech was able to win this game despite the poor shooting because they didn't turn the ball over. We had 0 turnovers from guards or wings. All of our turnovers came from our bigs, basically. That was a huge piece of it. And if you look at that as a result, that plus the fact that, we had 6 steals. They turned the ball over 14 times. We only turned it over 8. They shot the ball 57 times in this game. We shot it 65. So we shot it poorly, but we got more cracks at it. And then we also made more threes than them. They only made 3 threes in the entire game. It was the first 2 minutes of the game where the one dude made all 3.
Yeah.
And then we were able to make 8. So that was the difference. We made 5 more threes than them, and we took more shots than them, which allowed for the poor shooting to not, bite us in the butt.
Yeah, so Ben led us with 20, and then Bedford had 14. Because Bedford did have a nice stretch in there, but Ben Hammond, man, he's definitely becoming that dude.
And Christian Gerdak.
And yeah, Gerdak had a nice game.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Louisville. I want to come back to Mike Young's end of game stuff when we get to Syracuse, and we're going to discuss Ben Hammond before we talk about Duke. We lost to Louisville 85-71. Mikael Brown was back. We were keeping it close early, but going back and forth, it just felt like we couldn't get anything to go down. It felt like there was a lid on the rim for us, and we shot so badly in the first half. And then right before the half ended, they went, I think it was a 14-3 run. And so it's 37-22 at the half. And I don't know about you guys, but I felt like it was over. Like we weren't going to come back on the road down 15.
Yeah, it was over. I was worried about our guards in this one, dealing with Conwell and Brown and McNeely and because Louisville's roster is so deep and they have so many guards. The fact that Adrian Woolley was one of the top players in the transfer portal and he comes off the bench and only plays 20 minutes for them is crazy. But that's what happens when you spend a ton of money. So I was worried about the guards, but I ended up being wrong about that. We got dominated inside. Imani and Toby combined for 5 of 19 from the field. They weren't good. Again, like I said, back-to-back games with the two of them just were not good. I mean, Toby Lawal had 2 points in 30 minutes. That's not going to get it done against anybody in this league.
Well, he smoked us on the boards too.
Yeah, we got just dominated on the inside, 44-31 rebounding, like Pete just mentioned, which was, again, like I said, the opposite of what I was worried about. So you could basically summarize the entire game with Amani and Toby were 5 of 19 from the field, and Michael Brown Jr. was back. And that about summarizes the entire game because kid is a freak. This is one of the best freshman classes I can ever remember in college basketball, and he's right there at the forefront of it. First game back, 20-6. Ho-hum, just a stud. And Virginia Tech didn't really have an answer for him or for the rebounding, I guess.
We scored 49 points in the second half and lost by 14.
I was gonna say we hit 16. We hit 16 threes and lost by 14.
53% from three.
The second half we shot the ball much better than the first half, but the damage was already done.
Yeah, the closing 4-minute stretch of the first half is when the game was lost. Louisville went on that run. That was it. And it was tough. I mean, like you guys mentioned, killed on the glass. Bad Toby and Amani game. Neo continues to struggle offensively. Right. Just a lot of things. Was
this the bad Neo game?
Yeah,
this was a real bad Neo.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been bad
points.
lately. Yeah. He's 8. Speaking of just bad trends, last 3 games, he's 8 of his last 38 from the floor. Just not what you want at all.
1 of 8 in the Louisville game.
1 of 8 against Louisville. 8 for his last 38 overall. Just not what you want out of the guy that's supposed to be a best player on your team. But yeah, I mean, you hit 16 threes, you lose by 14. And you're like, okay, how does that happen, right? If you're just scoreboard watching, right? If you're just looking at the box score, how's that happen? You guys mentioned killed on the glass, bad game by the bigs, Michael Brown.
It's not something we have to go too deep into. Yeah. Let's move on. I want to tell you guys that Hokie Hoops is brought to you by State Farm. More specifically, Andrew Evans and Andrew Blevins, like we talked about at the beginning, your go-to guys for coverage that makes sense. Buying insurance can get a little confusing. And it can happen quickly. That's why the Andrews take a different approach. Real guidance, real conversations, and real people who will pick up the phone when you need them. Whether it's auto, home, renters, or life insurance, they've got you covered like a full court press by Ben Hammond. If you've been putting off checking your rates or reviewing your coverage, now is the time. The Andrews are friends of the Sons of Saturday family, and they're here to help you save money and get better protected. Getting in touch is easy. You can see the email address right on the screen. It's insurance@sonsofsaturday.com. That's insurance@sonsofsaturday.com. With the Andrews and State Farm, you're getting coverage backed by a neighbor you can count on. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. We beat Syracuse last week, guys. This was a much-needed road victory. It was 76-74. Another game where we're playing a team that, is punching above their weight. 7 of 12 from deep in the first half, and it was pissing me off for them. They're a 30% shooting team from 3, I think Mike said in our last episode, and they go out and they hit over 50%. We found ourselves down 7 at the half. We won on an 8-0 run starting about the 15-minute mark of the second half, which gave us a 1-point lead. And then it was Ben Hammond time. He scored 16 of his 24 points over the last 11 minutes and 11 seconds. Just an amazing effort from him. How did this game play out down the stretch, Ed?
It's Ben Hammond again. And it's Ben Hammond at the free throw line again. It's been incredible how many points he's able to score at the foul stripe. He did it against Virginia. He did it against Syracuse. 12 of 13 from the free throw line. So 12 of his 24 were free throws. The guy's just a stud, man. He had 6 steals in this game, 4 assists, only 2 turnovers. 2 turnovers in 37 minutes. That'll play. Actually, I don't think we mentioned this about the Georgia Tech game, but he played 37 minutes and had 0 turnovers against Georgia Tech. The guy's just playing at an unbelievable level right now. There's really no super deep basketball analysis needed here, other than he's just playing at an extremely high level.
Is it time for me to put
in
up
a different way than you'd expect? Like he's not. Coach Young talked about it on ACC PM. He talked about it in the post game. Like Ben Hammond in high school was a table setter. He was a guy who played on a really, really good high school team surrounded by 5 stars, and he ran the show and distributed to them. And in college now, in year 2 in college, he's become basically a score first point guard at 5'10" or however tall he is. It's been incredible to watch, and it's we have our version of Doug McDaniel or Chris Likes or all name a small point guard in college basketball. But man, if he keeps playing like this, it's pretty incredible. And you have this stat on the screen. I'll let you go ahead and read it, Pete, because I was blown away when I saw this.
Doug Bowman put this out. Using Bartovic since ACC play started, Hammond's 134.6 offensive rating is number 2 among ACC players with at least 50% of minutes, just a tick behind Duke's Cameron Boozer. Also number 1 in the ACC from 3 among guys with 25 attempts. He's shooting 55.2%. So essentially on offense, he's the second best player since ACC play started in the league. And Boozer's probably going to go 1, 2, or 3 in the draft. So this is a very, very impressive run that Ben Hammond is on right now. Doug quoted my tweet, which said over his last 5 games, he's averaging 17.8 points and shooting 57% from 3. In the last 4 games, he is averaging 19.5 points per game. So any way you slice it, go find the statistic. He is kicking ass. Through 50 games, Justin Robinson has had 426 points. So this is from Paul Patera. Justin Robinson had 426 points through 50 games. Hammond has 425. So they're essentially even. Robinson had the edge on assists and rebounds. Hammond is better on shooting percentage, steals, and turnovers. By that comparison, Hammond is on track for an exceptional career. Thank you, Paul Patera, for putting that out there. But just comparing him to essentially our best point guard ever is pretty nice company to be in through the beginning of his career. And if you'll remember back to the beginning of J-Rob's career, he came on late in his freshman year and then started really becoming the guy who he was in his sophomore year. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Ben Hammond.
Manassas, Virginia.
Hey.
Nasty. All right, let's finish it out with Syracuse because we have to talk about these last 2 minutes. We were up 9 with a minute and 2 seconds left. It didn't stop us from letting them back in the game. They got a 3. They got fouled on a 3. And again, we saw the layup thing happen. All of a sudden, it was a 2-point game. Abdallas made 1 of 2 free throws. And it started to look like it was going to be an SMU redux here. But fortunately, Toby got sent to the line and made them both. And this was this the game where he grabbed that rebound? When Toby went up after the foul shot and grabbed the rebound?
He's done it twice. He did it against SMU and then missed, and we lost.
I think it was. Yeah, I think he did that in the Syracuse game.
Yeah, you're right.
I think no time left.
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah,
they were shooting the free throw.
Neo missed both. Toby offensive rebound, foul. They subbed 4 people for some reason, and then he made both again to put it on ice. And then they made a 3 at the buzzer to make it a 2-point game instead of a 5-point game.
Yes. So it got super dicey. And in this game, and this is something that has been being said online, there was a lot of criticism of Mike Young because it was GT hadn't even happened yet, but it was the lack of calling a timeout. And there was a few moments where I'm screaming at the TV, call a timeout.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he refuses to do so, but it's been a few times where it's like, can we get a timeout to collect ourselves here? And for whatever reason, he doesn't like to do it.
My only working theory on this, and then Mike, I'll see what your thought is
sure.
If I was as good with a grease board as Mike Young is, I would always want to have one in my pocket too. Because not that you want anything like this to unfold, but in the event that it does, and you have the ball and 3 seconds left in a tie game, down 1 or whatever it is, I want that in my back pocket too. So that's my thought, is he always wants to have that in his back pocket in the event he really, really, really needs it. Now, you could argue he really, really needs it with 2 minutes to go. We're kicking the ball around. But, that's why, in particular, in halves, you never see him call timeouts, ever. The team, if there's above 10 minutes left in a half and a team goes on a run and we're all in group chats, call a timeout. He's not going to do it. He saves those for as late as he can possibly save them for. And again, if I was as good at scheming guys open as he is, I probably would be that way as well. But yeah, you can argue that there's times it could help a little earlier.
I agree. I think the one thing too, Ed, to your point, right, is obviously late in games, he's subbing his best defensive guys on the floor. He's subbing his best offensive guys on the floor, especially when opposing teams are shooting free throws. We're shooting free throws, whatever. He's he's putting on his best defensive lineup, right? In a lot of cases, if we're at the free throw line leading, he wants to get, whatever guys in to meet the right matchups there down the stretch. I think the opportunity to be flexible and be able to get your best offensive lineup back on the floor, I think that is why you hold on to the timeouts, right? Because if you need to have your best offensive lineup on the floor, if you're down one, tie game, whatever, you can call a timeout, get your best guys out there. I can see the argument for him holding on to one. I think where he could definitely call one, though, in hindsight, right? And it's not really hindsight because we've seen this over and over again, is when a team starts to go on a run with like a minute and a half to go and you're still up by 9, calling a timeout to collect yourselves to make sure these guys don't do this shit again. Like that's what we're, trying to keep from happening, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's been so repetitive. It's been over and over again where it's like, it's coming, right? All of a sudden,
we could feel it coming last night.
Like Hammond's on a run, right? Hammond's on a roll. He's playing outstanding. And all of a sudden nobody around him can hit a shot. I mean, Ed just went into this last night with the Georgia Tech game. Nobody around him can hit a shot all of a sudden. And it's like, guys, like we're now letting him get to the basket at will defensively, and now nobody's making anything. Let's call a timeout to reflect ourselves, to like regroup and recollect and like figure out a way to get things back going on the right foot. The timeout usage, it's philosophical, right? It's really dependent. It's going to be coach to coach, but with Young, I think we know what this is going to look like now, right? Moving forward. I mean, we know that he's going to hold on to him as late as possible, and he's not always going to call them when we all want him to.
No, I think there's a couple different things. One, this is getting really old. Like the idea that we cannot maintain a double-digit lead against 3 or 4 different opponents now. This is a trend. So whatever the philosophy has been, you might need to change it with this specific group of players. Now, when TJ comes back, maybe this is different because we literally haven't seen this go down with Tyler Johnson because he's been out all of ACC play. And so that would be one thing. Also, I don't recall this being an issue with Mike Young in the past. Like, I don't remember like us blowing leads in the past with Mike Young. I'm sure we've blown one, but like that happens in basketball, but not like this, not over and over and over again in the same season. So I would like to think that his overarching philosophies are the correct ones. He's seen a lot more basketball than any of us have, and he knows what he likes to have in his back pocket at the end of games. It's just that right now, these guys they can feel it. Like, and then they start to get tight, and then guys start missing.
On the bright side, we're starting to win these close games, right? Like, you don't want to be in these close games late. Like, you don't want to be blowing leads and stuff like that, but you're starting to put these away, right? Like I read a story today. I forget who posted. It was about Michigan, right? Michigan beats Nebraska last night in Ann Arbor. Huge win. Nebraska's first loss of the year. Awesome game, back and forth. Great game. Michigan does not look as dominant as they looked early in the year, but everybody's like, okay, is that a bad thing though? Like now they're starting to win these games ugly. Will that help them in the tournament? I forget who wrote it. I read it earlier this afternoon, but it's almost like that with Tech, obviously to a much lesser extent, right? Not an elite program right now like Michigan, but it's almost like you get into these games here in ACC play. There's 9 games left, right? We talked about, Tech sitting here at 16 wins, probably need 4 more to feel pretty good about the tournament. Pretty tough schedule. Some road games here, they're going to be tough that we'll get into, but like you're going to be playing some tight games here down the stretch. And like, can you start to build some confidence in the fact that you are closing out some of these close games, right? You're not that the Stanford and the SMU games are getting further and further in the rear view mirror. Now you're looking at games like, oh, look what we did against Syracuse, though. It was tight late. We pulled it out. Look what we did against Georgia Tech. It was tight late and pulled it out. Doesn't have to be this way when you're up like 7, 8, 9, 10 points. I get that, right? But the fact that they're able to still close these games out, I think, is going to pull this team back in the right direction. Because I do think some of this stuff is almost psychological, right? Where it's like, oh my God, here we go again. We're not making anything. We're wide open. Like last night, Jalen Bedford wide open against Georgia Tech, missing, airballing threes. Like what are we doing? Bedford's a 40% shooter from the floor. Like what are we doing?
I think there's something to be said for being that type of battle tested going into the last month of the season, going into the ACC tournament, is seeing all these late game situations. Like at some point that has to benefit us. And I think that's what you're kind of scratching at there, Mike.
Right.
Yeah. I also, you mentioned Tyler Johnson coming back and, I think we'll probably turn the page here towards the future. But, with Tyler Johnson coming back, it does make me think back to really 2 games I think we would have won if he was on the floor. Stanford and honestly Wake. I think SMU was one of those games where it felt worse coming on the heels of Stanford and Wake, but it's just one of those things that just happens in this stupid sport. I'm looking at the play-by-play from that game right now. With 3:23 left, Bedford made a jump shot to put us up 6. They turned around and scored the very next possession. So that game coming down the stretch, it wasn't like we had a huge lead and blew it. It was always like a 4-point lead. And we lost the game on a Hail Mary 3-pointer.
Yeah. That game.
That one I'm kind of just like, whatever. But Wake and Stanford, I do think with Tyler Johnson, we win at least one, probably both of those games. And Pete, you brought up a good point. Like, there's been a lot of sky is falling talk with this team, kind of on a game-to-game basis. But I think people are failing to realize how important Tyler Johnson is, 1, and 2, that we have not been full. We have not had our full starting 5 since before Thanksgiving. I don't think people realize how long that's been, how many games have been played, and what's taken place in that time. And to further emphasize the point on Tyler Johnson, as he hopefully is back here soon, points, it's PRPG on Bart Torvik, which is basically points above replacement. Tyler Johnson's 3rd on our team, behind Amani Hansberry and Ben Hammond. So that I don't think people truly grasp the importance of Tyler Johnson
good.
And what he does for this team. What he does for Neo in particular, I think that'll be really impactful and noticeable quickly when Tyler Johnson's back. I expect Neo to play better because when Tyler Johnson went down, Neo started playing worse. So I think that's something super important to think about too, in the context of what's happened to this point, is that we were without Toby LaWall for a long time and now out without Tyler Johnson for a long time. And those are 2 guys who, if you had told me coming into the preseason, I would say, man, that's probably your 2nd and 3rd best player. Now it turns out Amani Hansberry is really, really good. Yeah. But, preseason, if you told me that, I would say, man, we're in trouble if those guys have missed that much time.
Well, we haven't lost a game with our full starting lineup, meaning we were missing Toby or missing TJ for every single one of the losses. We have yet to see this team lose a game where our starting 5 is out there. And so that is something. That is something that is encouraging if we can get him back anytime soon. There were some rumors about last week. What about this weekend, Ed? Any thoughts on that?
I think I'm going to say this and some people will laugh. I have no reason to not believe Coach Young when he says in press conferences that Tyler's close, because when he said that about LaWall came back immediately. So I do think Tyler is close. I do think they are also probably looking at the fact that we have an open date after Duke, and wondering, do we push it so he plays against Duke, or do we be a little cautious and give him a full extra week before we head into February when we have NC State, Clemson, Florida State, Miami? I would probably be conservative there. Just knowing how important some of those road games will be. Yep. I don't want it to sound like I'm punting on Duke. I'm not. But if it's a coin flip, if the kid should play or not, I'm not playing him.
Right. If he's fine, then play, because this was a Tuesday game, so you got a little ways before Saturday. Like,
maybe he'll play he
could be good to go.
Maybe he'll have like a 15 minutes restriction, can get back and get his feet wet, and then we hit the open date. But
you would expect that nothing less than.
I would be shocked if he doesn't play against NC State. Yes. That would mean something happened. There was a setback. I'd be shocked if he's not back by NC State.
I was laughing because who's going to be pushing to play against Duke? Tyler Johnson. If he's as close being back as Mike Young said,
he's going to want to play.
Yeah, he's going to want to play
home game
Duke
against that team. Hell yeah!
National
Before
TV
we
game.
Talk about them. I want to talk about the Dukies. Get your guys' thought on that upcoming quick spot on Neo, because we must.
Yeah.
this is the guy that we went after and we brought in, and he was a potential lottery pick. He can't shoot the basketball right now. I'm not saying it won't come back, but he is shooting like shit. None of his advanced metrics, none of that stuff is very good, but he can still be valuable to us, and he is valuable. I don't think his defense is necessarily as bad as everyone thinks. It's not great.
It's gotten better.
It's great. It's gotten better, but the offense is falling apart because he cannot make a shot. And I think In ACC play, the splits are atrocious. He's under 20% from three. I think what's happening with him is like he's in a slump. It's a little bit mental, or maybe a lot of it mental. And he's letting one miss, get him a second miss, get him a third miss, and it just builds on itself. Now, I thought his attitude last night, Mike, was he seemed engaged. Like he seemed like he was ready to go, and he hit a couple shots early, but he needs to find a way to play to his strengths more. Like, I'm not saying stop shooting. Like, you're a basketball player, you need to shoot, but like use your size, use your passing more, play more aggressively, grab more rebounds, anything you can do to contribute with your gifts outside of just jacking up threes.
Our worst offense all season has been the neo isolation early in the shot clock, step back jump shot, which we see no less than twice a game. It's been the worst offense all year. He rarely makes them. When he does, it's like, okay, great, he made one, right? It does not. It hasn't happened for him. That offensive game for him all year has not been there. The isolation, step back, contested jump shot, and it's not there for a lot of college players. Just not. Him missing open ones, right? I agree with you, Pete. It is mental, right? So like some of that goes back to what I was saying about closing games out, where it's just like some of this is psychological. The playing to his strengths thing, I think we can all agree. The best part of Neo's game is his court vision, is passing. He's, for my money, one of the top 2 or 3 passers in the entire league. I mean, he's really, really good. I think he could, and I think this is where Tyler, again, Ed, you were just mentioning this, where Tyler Johnson will help, right? Is you come back, you have another guy who can space the floor, knock down jump shots. Right now, it's like Bedford and Hammond, and that's really it. As far as like Neo is running down the floor on a fast break, he's trying to kick it to a guy on the wing. That's all you got. That's where I think Tyler Johnson will help a lot, right? Another guy to space the floor.
He was one of our better shooters from three.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, he had taken a clear step forward from last year with his jump shooting early in the year before he got hurt. I think Neo needs to find a way to ease himself into the game and just focus on, and it's easy for me to say, but like focus on what he's good at, which is opening things up for his teammates. And then I think in turn, the game will open up for him. Because I think right now it's just a lot of, he's trying to find his offense. And I get that, because I'm not sure he's gone through a prolonged like jump shooting slump. I didn't follow his career religiously in Europe until he was on our radar, but like I can't imagine he was going through a prolonged slump like this, where he literally like cannot throw it in the ocean. Again, 21% over his last 3 games. Like you said, P, shooting under 20% from 3 in ACC play. Like, this has been brutal. And how does it get better? I think it's from easing his teammates in and getting into a rhythm himself, right? And playing off of everybody else once they get going. I think that's the way he is going to get going. But no easy answers right now. The one thing we know for sure is like he can't do that isolation, jack up jump shots offense.
I just think he could scare the crap out of teams if he would attack, because he can put it on the floor and he's got good body control. There's no reason he couldn't go to the rim. Now, it's not been a focus for him, so he's like, it would take practice. It would take doing it, but I think he's very capable of doing it.
Yeah, I think he's actually really good going to the rim with both directions. And then last night you saw him, get up there and actually flush one, which we hadn't seen really this year. Him attack downhill and dunk a ball, which you did see in his highlight tapes when he first committed and things like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's no way around this, right? His last 3 games, he's shooting 20%, 12%, and 26% from the floor. I felt like the shot selection hasn't been horrible. There's some, when you shoot 15 shots in a game like he did against Syracuse and Georgia Tech, there's a couple that you're like, all right, whatever. But overall, I felt like he's done a decent job with that relative to some of the earlier games in the year where I felt like his shot selection was really bad. So I feel like that's improved. And as a result of that improving, the shooting percentage has gone down, which doesn't make any sense to me. Mechanically, his jump shot looks good. Like I don't have any issues there like that I can see. It's just not falling, and there's no rhyme or reason. Like Notre Dame and like Syracuse and those games, like it looked like it was coming out flat a little bit. Like he wasn't getting a lot of lift with his legs. I was like, okay, maybe he's tired. This is the most he's ever played in his career. Maybe he's just not not physically there, but I don't know, man. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. When you take away the shooting, he's playing fine. I mean, he had his last 3 games, he had 2 assists, 0 turnovers, 4 assists, 1 turnover, 3 assists, 1 turnover. He's not turning it over. He's assisting at an okay rate, not where he was.
We're not
earlier.
having that many assists in general as a team.
No, we're
the
not.
ball's not moving the same way it normally does.
A lot of free throws lately.
Ton of free throws and getting fouled. The area that just drives me the craziest is that he's a 6'9" guard and can't rebound. And that's not and can't, like, go back and listen to my interview with Tyler Johnson and asking him about, his rebounding ability at a similar size. Actually, he's smaller. And he said it's not learned, it's effort. And there's a few times every game where I watch Neo and the ball's coming off the rim and he's turning to go up the floor.
Yep.
And not crashing the rebound. I mean, for Christ's sake, he's 6'9". Ben Hammond is maybe 5'9", and Neo's averaging 1 more rebound per game than Ben Hammond. That's just insane.
Yeah, and he's a great athlete. So this is not a question of athleticism.
And I also think too, like, he's so good in transition that I think if he were to just tell himself, I'm going to go grab 8 of them tonight and go do that, I guarantee his offense would be better, because he'd be catching the ball, turning and running up the floor, and he'd find himself or his teammates. He can be a one-man fast break with his vision and his athleticism. Go grab one off the rim and push it, and let's see what happens. And I think the more times you touch the ball in a productive way, the better it is for your confidence, and I think in turn, the better everything else about his game will be. But overall, people complain about the body language. I don't really see that. I think he's been fine from that perspective. He's always picking up his teammates and hyping dudes up, and he's engaged. And he hit that first 3 last night against Georgia Tech and was fired up. They showed that replay a couple times, and then he came back down with a dunk, and I was like, oh wow, we're in for a game here. And then he just could not get anything to fall. I mean, he's standing alone, missing jump shots. It's one of those things that. I think, when we look back at the season, this kind of 4-game stretch, when you're looking at the point totals, will probably be an anomaly. I think he'll snap out of it and figure it out, because, we've seen him do it. He had 30 against, who did he have? The Providence. He had 17 against UVA. He had 13 against South Carolina. 21 against Stanford. Team. I mean, we've seen him do it. It's not an ability thing. It's just a tough streak for the kid right now.
The rebounds and the defense, I think, are effort-based. I think when he shows effort on the defensive end, he has not been bad, right? And I think the rebounding thing is an effort thing, right? I mean, it's pretty clear. But
some guys are better at it than others, but it's typically based on how engaged you are in the game and if you want to go get the rebound.
Go grab 8 and see what happens. I guarantee if he were to go out and grab, 6, 7, 8 rebounds against Duke, all of his other counting stats are better. I guarantee.
Well, they were talking about this on Bill Simmons today. He had Legler on. I love legs. And they're talking about Zion Williamson. And like this same exact issue is like, why doesn't he grab any rebounds? He's big and he's athletic and he can jump. And they were just like, if he would go grab a couple more rebounds, it would change like everything about his statistical profile and what he can do in a game. And it's exactly the conversation we're having right now.
Yeah. And I think I told you guys this over text today. It's almost like with Neo at this point, I think his shooting almost is what it is. But what I mean by that is like, I don't think any of us are expecting him to be like this excellent shooter, but we're also not expecting him to make 8 of his last like 38 shots or whatever. Like this is to what you just said, Ed, like this is an anomaly. Like the last 3 games I think are an anomaly. Like this is like way on the bad spectrum. Like on the end of the bad spectrum. I think he's going to come back. Like he's going to come back to the mean somewhere here soon.
I don't know if it'll be Duke, because it's Duke and they're, I have second in the net, third in KenProm. They're a top 3 team in the country. I do think the open date will help Neo a lot. And I said this in the Sons of Saturday text chat earlier today. Neo's going to steal us one of these games later in the season. He's going to steal us Clemson or NC State or Miami. He's not going to shoot this poorly the rest of the way. I'll be shocked if he does.
No, I wouldn't think so either. The only thing that worries me is the free throw percentage isn't good. Shows a little bit of a lack of touch. And this was the question coming in, is that he isn't a great shooter. Can he prove he's a good shooter? If he can prove he's a good shooter, he's a lottery pick. He's not proving it. And yes, I agree it should get better. And I tend to agree with Ed that there's going to be a game where he's 10 of 15 and we win the game because he makes an important couple shots in the last few minutes.
Yeah.
But right now it's hard to see that. I still think we were discussing his draft stock. Not that it matters for the Hokies team, but it matters in terms of program perception and where we want him to go. He's still a draft pick as of this moment. You know, scouts are very interested in him. There was a lot of scouts watching him at that SMU game. Unfortunately, he hasn't been great the last 6-7 games, but he's still currently, in my head, a draft pick. It might not be a first round pick, maybe end of the first round, early second, but he needs to pick it up. He needs to pick it up if he wants to be a surefire draft pick, if he wants to get in that first round. Because, yeah, you can project guys to get better in the NBA with their shot, and we saw it with Igor Demon. It's something that Robert Irby pointed out, that if you look at Igor's stats, they're very similar to what Abdalis is doing. And he's having a nice, rookie season shooting the basketball. So, yes, guys can develop. But right now, like, it's it would be nice if it just got a little bit. While you're not, though, get the rebounds. Use your teammates. All the things that Mike and Ed were talking about, like what I was trying to pick up on at the very beginning of this is just like, use all of your gifts. Don't just try to shoot your way out of this slump. There's other ways to get out of the slump.
The flat-footedness in the second half of games, shooting the ball, has been something that's been pretty consistent. There's a shot or two. Just like there's a shot or two where you're like, he's taking a contested one. We're like, oh my God, he's shooting 15 to 18 shots a game. Ed, like you said, like they're going to have a couple possessions like that, but it's the ones in the second half where he's hitting front rim. He's taking a three, he's hitting front rim. It's like, okay, no legs. This is a conditioning thing, maybe. Like, I don't.
Some of them too. Look, it looks like he's like lining it up. Like it looks like he's like trying to be too perfect when he has the time. So I'd almost rather him take some fallaways because maybe then he won't be thinking about what he's doing and he'll just do it. But I think it'll be fine. This is not, like I said, I'd be shocked if this is a problem throughout the rest of the year. I think we'll look back on this 4-ish game stretch and be like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. That brings us to Duke. This weekend, consensus 1 seed across the board pretty much. They might have the number 1 pick in the draft in Cameron Boozer. They have 2 other guys that are probably late round picks, maybe not quite as high as people thought at the beginning of the year with Gongba and Evans, but those are both, 19 to 25 type pick guys right now. And they're both averaging double digits. Boozer himself is what, 23 and a half points a game? Like that is unbelievable. And it's not just the points, it's the rebounds, it's the assists, the steals. His percentages are crazy good. He looks like a number 1 pick. And so this is an immense challenge. You also have his brother, Caden, who's a pretty good player for them. He's a wing, does a little bit of everything. And then Caleb Foster, almost 9 points a game, shoots the 3 well. It's a tough team. And they just made Louisville look foolish, a team that made us look foolish. So it's I was feeling less optimistic after that Louisville game. I have to admit it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way around it. They're 19-1. I mean, they're a really, really good team. They're honestly probably relative to Duke and the team Shire has had coming into the year. They were maybe had more question marks than some of his past teams, but they've answered them all pretty quickly. And like you said, Cameron Boozer has answered a lot of those questions himself. He basically leads them in every category. He's averaging almost 24 and 10. I mean, he's almost averaging double-double. Also has 4 assists a game. He just does everything at a high level. He's a really good basketball player. And, you mentioned the other 2, Isaiah Evans and Big Pat from up here in Northern Virginia as well. Isaiah Evans could kill you in a blink. The guy can shoot the cover off the ball. Gungba's a tough matchup down low. But it's really, with Duke, for me, it's more about just the depth and what they just roll at you. I mean, if you just look at guys who play – north of 10 minutes a game. Darren Harris, was a maybe low 5-star from PVI, and he's playing 10 minutes a game. That's just how much talent and depth they have.
And Sarr, too.
Sarr, he's playing 20 a game. Malik Brown, another Virginia guy. God, they have a lot of Virginia guys. Now he's playing 18 a game. They just roll guys at you, and I think that's the bigger challenge, but I mean, Cameron Boozer's also obviously a challenge in his own right.
The son of Carlos Boozer, if you guys aren't aware. We've seen Carlos at a couple different games. He also works for ACC Network here and there, I think.
It's hard to be too optimistic. I'm glad it's at home.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a good history against
We've had
Duke
a good
at home.
history against Duke at home. That's right. I'm glad it's at home.
I wish it was later in the day, though, Mike.
Bartorvik
I knew there's
projected line is Duke minus 8.1 for what that's worth.
That's better than the Louisville line.
Yeah, it is. And actually,
the
Louisville line, because it was on the road, was projected to be like, I want to say 14, or maybe it was like 13. So as far as games the rest of the year goes, actually, NC State's projected to be a bigger spread. Clemson, North Carolina, Virginia, obviously all those are on the road though. So, if I had to guess, it's a 9.5, 10.5 point spread, but at least analytically, it should be like an 8-point spread.
Let me see what it is right now, if it's up.
It won't be up yet.
I'll tell you what I'm concerned about. I'm real concerned about the continuing foul troubles of Amani Hansberry, and then having to then go against Boozer here, and then we're running Toby out there primarily on Boozer or Gerdak on Boozer. I don't,
or Neo,
or you could. I mean, Neo 6'9". You could try to put him on Boozer. That's one way to get him to up the intensity defensively. Is stick him on Boozer.
Yeah,
maybe send a message that way if you're.
That's why it'd be nice to have TJ back for this game, because they do have Gongba and Boozer, who are both big boys, and can, because I don't necessarily hate Gerdak's chances against Big Pat, but like Cameron provides a challenge,
an athleticism.
Yes,
leap. Not that Gerdak's not athletic, he is, but it's just a leap in athleticism with Boozer. That's just different.
Yeah, I think the path to winning the game is that we have to have one of our best shooting nights. The ball has to move. The defense, without saying, needs to stay where it is and then continue to be good at the end of the game. But you really just need Hammond to have, a 20-point game. You need Neo to hit double digits. You need no one can have a stinker. Like that's really what's been happening the last few games, is one of our big four, doesn't play well, or has 2 points, or does something but then has 0 rebounds or whatever. Like, just you're missing everyone. This needs to be our best game of the season. Like, that's the only way you can win this game, is everyone needs to contribute, and you need it to essentially be your best shooting night of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like quite as dire as that. I mean, like, at the end of the day, there are things Virginia Tech has done really well throughout the year that could cause problems for Duke. One of them being getting opponents in foul trouble. That's something Virginia Tech has done very well this year, is get to the line and draw fouls. And, if you go out there in the first few minutes and you're able to run some sets to get Amani or Toby, get them half a step on somebody and force, Gungbo or Boozer to get into foul trouble. Obviously, again, I mentioned their depth, and they roll guys at you in numbers, but it's a little bit different when you're able to do that. So I do think if Virginia Tech's able to find a way to be aggressive, get downhill, get Amani and Toby to the free throw line, whether they make it or not, it's a different question. But get them to the free throw line and play your game and play the defense, like you said. Pete, we played really good defense. I think we'll be okay on that end. My question is, can we handle them on the other end? Can we get good looks? Can we get our stuff? And if we can, I think we can keep it close and play a good game. But, I mean, obviously you can't shoot 20% and win this game.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything last thoughts on there, Mike, on how you feel about the game this weekend?
No, I think you need a better Toby and Amani game. You need Neo not to go 3 for 15. You need Jaden Shu to make a jump shot. Like, just like basic stuff to keep this thing close, right? Like, I just played a game against Louisville where you hit 16 threes and you lose by 14. It's like, all right, well, if we hit 16 threes in this game and get like an average performance defensively, we're probably in pretty good shape at home. I mean, this Duke team's really good, but like if you're shooting,
they are beatable. Their only losses to Texas Tech, it was in Madison Square Garden. I don't know.
Good game.
They're beatable. It's a college basketball game. It's just it's a stiff challenge for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough one. They're a tough matchup. Depth, size, athleticism. I mean, this is a really good Duke team. This might be one of, and Ed, you mentioned this, like probably more questions coming into the year for a John Shire coach team. I think this might be his best team at Duke potentially with how things are shaking out by a lot.
He's a damn good coach, man. Like I know, you can throw the started on third base thing at him, but man, he has not skipped a beat with Coach K. If anything, he's elevated what Duke was at the end of K.
Better than what it was last 5 years.
The last few years of K, I mean, he's elevated above that. I mean, John Shire is a damn good coach. So I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a really fun game. And then we have the open date before we kick off a stretch of some really important basketball games. So I don't know. Maybe we'll record post Duke. Maybe we'll do something super quick before NC State or something like that.
Yeah, probably something next week. See if TJ is going to be healthy, we can recap Duke and preview NC State, and then we go to Clemson too. So 3 Q1 opportunities in a row with Duke, NC State, and Clemson all in a row. And as we said at the very beginning, this team is only about 4 wins away from being in serious tournament contention. Like if we get to 9-9 in ACC play, there's a good chance we could make the tournament. And so it's right there for us. Now the remaining schedule is tough, but it's going to be a lot of fun too. Like I'm excited. I'm also excited to see Cassell at noon on Saturday, packed out, like completely packed out, loud. I know the crowd was pretty good for Georgia Tech. Maybe the corners were empty, but this is not going to be like that. This is going to be absolutely packed. And I love when Cassell is like that.
Totally agree. Got one last question for Ed. Hey Ed, when do we play Pitt? Like what's going on,
dude? It's so annoying. I was watching them play. Oh God, who were they playing? Wake the other day, I think.
Oh yeah,
Wake. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we don't get to play this team. So frustrating.
They got that win though. They
did win that game. They did win that game.
Took overtime, but they got them.
Yeah. No, that's just so unfortunate. But hey, you got to beat who you got to beat. While we're on the topic of other ACC teams, Florida State just beat Cal. So that's an interesting one. Pete, you and I were talking about this right before we recorded. If you go and look, Cal's one of Virginia Tech's better wins. Cal is slightly ahead of Virginia Tech in the net. They probably won't be anymore. But that game was never going to leave Q2 it was never going to become a Q1 win just based on where Cal was analytically. So honestly, them dropping a spot in the ACC, them dropping a couple spots in the net, even though we do have the head-to-head, I don't hate it.
It's better from how many teams can the ACC get in the tournament?
Right.
It's probably 9. It could be 10, but it's probably 9.
It's probably 9.
And you don't want Cal to take your spot.
Yep.
I know we beat them, but that doesn't really matter when it comes to the committee. Head-to-head doesn't really matter.
Yeah, they're now 10th in the league.
This is a bad loss for them.
Yeah, that's a terrible loss for them. They're now 10th in the league and 3-5 in the ACC. So I completely agree, Pete. When I saw that they were ahead of us in the net, I was like, damn, that's kind of unfortunate. Now, no longer.
Yeah. Hopefully.
And that brings me to another point, too. Like, this will be the last thing. Like, I think we have to get to 20 to feel good. I think if you get to 20, you feel really good. I think if you get to 19 and you just win the 3 more that you're going to be favored in, and that's Florida State being one of them.
No bad losses.
You'll have, and you just don't get your doors blown off by somebody like in a really, really bad way. You might sneak in at 19-12 and 8-10 in the league because the bubble's soft. And to this point, Virginia Tech's worst loss is Wake Forest. I mean, I guess Stanford, but they've also gone on and beaten some people. So you don't have a bad one.
Team,
like if you just beat Florida State, Wake, Boston College, and play everybody else really close, analytically, you might have a chance.
You might have a chance at making it very scary. You got to get at least one. You would like to get at least one more.
Yeah, you get one more, you're at 20, and you feel great. But it is interesting when you look at the bubble, man. Like, there's a poster over on 24/7 who's been crushing the Virginia Tech daily, going on and starting a whole thread about the bubble, where Virginia Tech stands, games that are important to Virginia Tech that night.
Damn.
And I'm only bringing that up to say one of the ones today was Iowa and USC are both very similar teams, very bubbly teams. You don't want USC to go on the road and get a big Q1 win. Well, they didn't. Iowa won by 1. So it's helping me pay attention to what's going on around college basketball and how that relates to Virginia Tech, which is ultimately what we all care about. Right?
We're also rooting against Missouri. They're one of the big at-large teams that's like on the bubble. There's several of Texas.
There's a bunch.
It's fun. Like, I love bubble season. We haven't been in it in a couple years, so it's
down.
It's fun to watch it.
Texas is down by 5 against Auburn. Missouri doesn't play
right now. Bracket Matrix does have us in. They have us in 68 of the 100 brackets, and we are an 11 seed, which means we could be, one of the first round games.
We can all road trip to Dayton.
The Dayton games. But we're rooting against New Mexico, San Diego State, Seton Hall, Mizzou, Cal, Stanford, Indiana, TCU. We're rooting against those teams.
Yes. We can do a whole pod on that.
Yeah, really. Yeah. That's gonna pretty much do it for this show. The ladies have moved to 16-5, guys. They're 6-3 in conference. They've won 5 in a row, and they got Pitt on Thursday. Pitt's not a very good team. So that could be a 6th in a row. And then they have UVA in Cassell on Sunday at 2:00. That's an important game because UVA is 6-3 also in the conference right now for the women. So this Sunday, Commonwealth Clash, like that's going to be a fun one between our ladies and UVA.
Yeah, they're in a very similar spot to the men where they've done a good job, winning a bunch of games that they should win, and now they have to look ahead, and you have Virginia at Notre Dame, NC State at Stanford, North Carolina, and then they close out with Virginia again. So
stack the wins.
They have a lot of really, really tough games down the stretch, but yeah, win the ones you're supposed to, steal a couple you aren't, and maybe we'll have 2 teams dancing this year.
All right, you guys can use code HOOPS20 to get 20% off at Roback. You guys know the polos, the hoodies. Roback is a great company. Their activewear is awesome. Use code HOOPS20 to get 20% off your first order. That's going to do it for the show. Make sure you're subscribed to the Sons of Saturday on YouTube, like the video, and subscribe on the podcast feed, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and also you can subscribe to the Hokie Hangover with Mike or the Too Deep feed with me and Sam. We'd appreciate it. Until next time, when we're hopefully celebrating a big win over Duke, go Hokies.